fans, viewers,
All right.
fellow cyclists. Far back. Far back. Hello. I miss our Edmund and my bean and smokes. But here we are in Michigan. We're gonna meet him in Manchester.
So Erin met me in Ann Arbor about 5:30. We had dinner and a drink before heading off on the road to the Meet Me in Manchester event. There was a option to meet up at 3 o'clock and all ride out to the event together, but Erin had a meeting, and if you saw my last video, I had been riding all day. I was already 92 miles in when I met her, so it just wouldn't have been that easy to get there much earlier. I got there a little bit before her, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. But anyways, they did make routes for this event to get to the farm where we'd be staying at outside of Manchester. The route we chose was a 22-mile one. There was also a 27-mile route. So first it was through Ann Arbor, which has great bike infrastructure. I made a whole video with Ann Arbor footage from when we were there for the Handmade Bike Show a couple months ago. There was one section of kind of like a strode through commercial stuff that wasn't the greatest, but it was short and it wasn't that big of a deal. We didn't have any issues. And then it was out onto a beautiful sunset, golden hour gravel ride. The setup and vibe of Meet Me in Manchester is like a lot of the other events that I've done over the last few years that I really, really like. If you think of Hodag or Nutmeg or Higher Ground, where it's not actually a race or anything like that, but it's just camping and then some really good routes to ride, either on gravel or country roads or dirt, off-road, rocky stuff, whatever it may be. Outside Ann Arbor here, there are just all these great gravel roads. As I said, we were there a couple months ago for the Handmade Bike Show. And then from Ann Arbor, we rode a different route with all of these awesome, really, really pretty gravel roads. As Jade, one of the route planners and organizers, had said, they have all these awesome roads and they just want to be able to share them with some people. So that was kind of part of the impetus for the event. I guess this was the second year they were doing it. I was not aware of it last year. I don't know, just wasn't paying attention, didn't see it. But it's great for us because this, out of all the events like this, is much, much closer to home. Our friends Brad and Ames had driven directly there, so they actually brought a bunch of our car camping stuff for us, which was really great because to have that extra space in the tent over the bike camping stuff and some extra comforts was really nice. Hung out around the fire that evening, had a good time. You could see we were set up on this hill overlooking the fire. People just kind of spaced out on the farm. Then in the morning, it was time for the ride. There were 4 different options for the rides. There were 2 different 50 miles. There was, I think, about an 85, and then there was a shorter 25. Oh, by the way, that is Squid, the eyeless adventure cat, blind cat that rides on Cat's shoulder. Me and Erin were totally in love, obviously, with the cat. And the people were all nice, too. Erin and I had intended to do the first 50-mile route, but it seemed like everyone who was doing the 50 was doing the second, so we figured let's ride with everybody else. It wasn't like a total group ride where the group had to stay together or anything like that, but people generally stuck relatively close together, and when it did spread out, there were some regroupings, whether they were smaller regroupings or bigger ones at the bigger stops. A couple of the reasons people were interested in the second route is that there was going to be a beach stop at a lake, and then there was also a waterfowl sanctuary section where the road went between a couple ponds or wetlands, which were really cool as well. The group kind of split up here because there was a water stop here on this historic property that was owned by the Ford family, and not everyone went there. Some people thought it was just a water stop, and it was early in the ride, so they didn't go. We wanted to check it out, so we went with a group of people, and so it kind of formed up for the early part of a ride with this group. As the title of the video indicates, I really do think this part of Michigan is a hidden gem outside of Ann Arbor. Like both times now we've ridden there, they've just been amazing roads to ride, these beautiful country views and rolling, much more rolling than you would expect for this part of Michigan. This was a segment here where we were cutting through a park. It was very sandy, and so what would riding in Michigan be like without hitting some of the sand? Amanda there was apologizing, and it was like, no, that's how this is out here. You just try and keep your balance and plow through. I know where we rode some places last year on the North Country Trail, North Country Traverse, that when I had the front of my bike loaded and we were trying to get through there, I would just bury it. It was could be really hard to ride. But this segment was still really fun. I obviously enjoyed the challenge, and then it was just really cool going a little more through the woods and off the actual roads for a bit. Cross is coming. That's what I got to say that. I guess I'm obligated now that I have cyclocross racing friends. Anyways, yeah, back out onto the gravel roads. Just a little regrouping we had done here. We actually ran into a couple people, Frank, Lugs Not Drugs, the organizer, and Kevin, who were doing the shorter route. The routes kind of came together for a while, and our timing happened to be perfect, so we got to ride with them for a little bit out here. This is where the route split back off, so we were stopping just to say our goodbyes and see everyone back at the farm. You natural beauty.
Aw, babe.
Yeah. Hey, there's a foul. Since I'm showing us climbing here and so showing a little bit of pavement, I'd have to say I think this must have had to be over 90% gravel. So there was, a very small amount of pavement on the ride. Even when there was, the roads weren't that busy. There's a couple little, those highway transfer sections you have to jump on once in a while as a road might cross over and not be completely, continue on the other side. You go down for a little bit, but no big deal on any of that. Here we came across Ames and her two teammates who were doing the longer route. Like I said, I think it was 85. Basically, I think the 50 we did would be included in the 85, but in the reverse direction. Our second stop was at this lake, and we decided that we would go swimming. We also met up with the other group that didn't stop at the first water stop here and kind of regrouped.
Go under. I don't know how to swim.
Go under.
I'm not good at going
Go
under.
under.
I don't. Please turn the camera away a bit.
So yeah, getting to go under, getting in some fresh water on a hot day like this was great. Also, the other thing is I had ridden that 92 miles the day before. I put on some Off with all the bugs, then sat around the fire, then slept in a tent, and I never got rinsed off. So jumping in water was absolutely glorious for me that day. As you can see at the end there, when we were on the playground, we were getting a group picture taken, so we were able to get everybody who was out on this route together. Meet Me in Manchester was a great, very affordable event, probably the cheapest event I've ever done. I did post about it in our Discord and told other people, like, hey, you guys should sign up. There was a limited number of slots, though, and I think they intend to keep it on the smaller side, even though they wouldn't mind growing it a little bit. Right here, Jade saw a garage sale sign, and we're like, we're really going to go up to that. We ended up doing it. The old lady who was running it was adorable, the older lady. And I think Jade ended up buying a hat. We were looking at some other things that were super cool, but obviously didn't have a lot of space to take anything with us. So after making that stop, it was the three of us just riding together for a little while, but we were getting into the city of Manchester, and a few people in the group had already talked about meeting up at a certain spot, a distillery there in town, so that's where we were heading to join them for a drink and for lunch. The distillery was really cool, had good drinks. They had a limited food menu, but it was enough. We got a pretzel and some wings, and so we're all good on food. But then we did stop at this Manchester market here, to get some stuff for the night and for breakfast. Friend Peter had said that there was a little dive bar that was kind of cool down the street and was going to stop there for a beer. So when we were finished and wrapped up at the market, we headed over there to meet them.
My bike? Actually, we're not getting all the way.
I disagree.
Was he in traffic?
No, he was in.
He was in traffic and John Spencer.
Yeah, John Spencer.
Look, man.
What do you mean you said no? I had not realized that my GoPro had been recording for about 10 minutes on my camera strap, which is how I got that footage of walking into the bar and locking the bikes and all that. But I did manage to capture a little of our, let's say, music discussion. Peter's a DJ in Detroit, so he does know his music, except for the fact that he didn't know the Pretenders were from Akron. Well, Chrissy Hines from Akron. The two other original Pretenders who are not alive were from England. So our group now was about 6 people, the ones who stopped at that bar. I also got to chat with Graham for a while, which was pretty cool because he was carrying a digital camera and a film camera. So, if you know anything about me, I'm going to nerd out when I run into another person doing that kind of thing. Oh yeah, so I mentioned the pavement earlier, and I said I was going to mention the climbing. I think it ended up being 2,300 feet. My Strava will be linked below as always. But for a 50-mile ride, not crazy, but definitely more hilly than you would imagine for a Southern Michigan ride. When we got back, everyone was kind of sitting around chatting and doing whatever they had for dinner. I had a burrito from that market. There was some cooking going on. Some people were doing camp meals and all that. And then our farm host got a really big fire going with all their brush and stuff from around the farm, as you could see. Hung out for a long time around the fire. People went to bed at different times, but it was so great to just... There's some people I had met before, some people I had never met before, some people I've seen around at these other cycling events but never really had the chance to talk to. So, yeah, just a really fun night, a really great crew. Like I said, not a huge crew, but enough that it made it kind of cool, less intimidating, way easier to meet people. So we said our goodbyes, thanked Frank, thanked Jade for route planning, thanked our host the night before, and then me and Erin were back off onto the road. I consider this ride and the ride in almost part of the event, being that, we parked in Ann Arbor and they also gave us the routes. So there were 2 routes to get out there. So we took the other route home, which was the 27-mile route. This route was a little better. The 27-mile route was able to avoid that road I mentioned on the way in that we weren't that crazy about. Oh, and I'm just remembering, we saw this farm drone system. There was a guy on a truck and it said something about spraying at the farm. So I don't know if the drone was just identifying spots. It didn't look like it could have enough tanks to spray anything. I don't know. As someone who has a drone and does photography and videography, I found it interesting though. Would like to look it up. Erin and I had thought about doing the short route on this day, but then realizing the short route's 25 miles and we have 27 miles on a mostly different route to get back to the city anyways, that makes a lot more sense for us. And, we didn't want to get home super late either, and I don't think either of us had to combine them and do a, full-on 50-mile ride this day. I definitely didn't because my legs this weekend already had hundreds of miles in them from riding up there. I love these old iron truss bridges, by the way. This road, even though paved, was really cool. It went around the Huron River and just had pretty views of the river and the woods around there. We did have one problem as there was this road closure here, but we got creative. We found our way around it. So, yeah, it's the weekend. It's a Sunday. This bridge over the river was cool, but we were actually going the wrong way, so we just went over the bridge and turned around. But it was then pretty much bike path and bike lanes all back into Ann Arbor. This really cool dam that you get a ride over. Same, we did that again when we were here a couple months ago, but yeah, just really cool. Wide angle won't show it, but this climb up to the dam was super steep on super loose gravel. And then my bike was loaded again also on this ride because I had everything that I had brought with me to Ann Arbor and the Manchester area. It's funny, I was saying to Erin, I pull out my GoPro, I'm like, oh, look, an Amtrak. I live somewhere where passenger rail is unfortunately a complete novelty still. As we got into Ann Arbor past this dam here, it felt like everybody in the city was coming down to the river. It's so unique and so different than the way the Cuyahoga is used. I mean, people are floating the river on the Cuyahoga now and doing some kayaking, but this was like every single walk of life and just people coming in everywhere. That is Sick Transit Cycles, where we had the car parked behind because the cafe we ate at is partially owned by them and right around the corner. We loaded up the car and then we went over to the famous Zingerman's Deli, where we checked out all our Strava and Wanderer stats from the weekend. So thanks again to the event organizers. We had an absolute blast. Definitely keep your eyes out for this event next year if you like to have fun. Thanks as always for watching. Check out our little store down below. Consider becoming a channel member if you want to support this kind of stuff, or at least give this video a like. That helps out too. I will see you in the next video. Peace.